Howdy, howdy. Sudella here, and welcome to the after action report of my round 2 battle with Black Iron Battles. Now, for this battle, the map bugged out and we couldn't be on our regular map, so I didn't quite deploy the way that I wanted to, but again, I made the mistake of putting all my units in a line. I should have deployed them just a little bit, these guys just a little back, these guys a little up, little back type of thing. But really what I should have done, knowing that like Black Iron, a lot of his fights are like just like this, where you put his chaff up front and a second line of real heavy infantry in the back. And I could have done precisely the same, put my Savage Orcs up front, I know they're going to be good, and then my Black Orcs out in the back. But, it is what it is. I got good skirmish right off the get-go, so I can just get firing in there right away, get some early shots. This cavalry bit really threw me because I only expected 2 units, and I wasn't sure exactly what to do. I did actually send some big guns out that way, but I probably should have also considered, well, I don't want to get Wurzag out of the way too much. But I did end up bringing my Goblin Wolf Riders and tried to collapse. The timing on this was really poor. I probably should have just held these guys right here or even pushed them back so I could join them up, so that I can probably still do pretty good in that engagement. So the engagement got started out all right. I just pushed everybody in a bit of a panic, and I'm going to push these guys over and this guy out to try and join up, and eventually these guys in. I did have these Goblin Wolf Riders originally targeted on that Bray Shaman of Death. I should have maintained that target, but I'm getting really good shots off of here. I don't know if this is exactly the right pick, but these guys are going to skirmish away and they're going to do just fine. But here's really one of the key engagements is I've got these guys going in, and because I have my line sort of split up and attacking here, and they're kind of like I'm coming in this way and they're sort of coming to the side, I'm not going to get a really good engagement. And he's held back these guys a little bit, and he's going to push into this left flank and overwhelm me here. He's going to put the fate of Buna on one of these Black Orcs. Now you can see on this engagement in particular, he's going to be able to come right in, and 4 versus 2 is going to win that. And these Orc big guns are just going to be a little late getting in there. I couldn't bring these Orc big guns over. There's just no way. So if I brought these guys back just a little bit and tried to time the engagement so that I could get a little bit better of an engagement. Now, here's an important part of the battle. Now, I'm basically got my Death Creepers doing what they needed to do. They're coming back and they're still getting skirmished. They've gotten some decent damage in on that Gore Herd, and they're all poisoned, which is exactly what I wanted. I should have really taken one of those guys, these guys here, and just put them into melee and also joined that fight right away. That way I could have at least 4 to 4 units, and had I brought these guys back and really delayed the engagement for kind of back in this area, so that I could at least time it. The Force Goblin, the Wolf Riders, I could have posted up sort of around here, or continued up against his Bray Shaman of Death. I think that's just a good target. He doesn't have a whole lot of armor, at least harassed him. But what happens too is these guys get pushed off to this side, and they're going to be a long ways away from helping anything over here. Probably should have at least pushed them around to the end over here. But you're going to see this engagement is starting right now. These Centaurs were throwing axes. I think they're going to aim over to my Black Orcs. Maybe not. I don't know if they're going to shoot over there. But you can see I've just got too much space. These guys got too much time to get over here, and I don't have any more support. So I'm trying to cast with Wurzag so that I can get that plus 13 melee attack and 18% charge bonus on all my units. It's going to be, the timing wasn't real great because my Black Orcs aren't involved, but he's going to get a 2v1 right here on these black orcs, and my other black orcs are sort of already engaged in his chaff, which is exactly what he wants, because he's going to get some damage. And I think that Fate of Buna, is that going off on them yet? No. But then, this is kind of the idea of the chaff. They're going to wear out these guys a little bit. And the battle here is going okay for me, really. I mean, I've got the Fist of Gork. That's what I did. I put the Fist of Gork on these guys because I wanted to try and just give a little bit of extra oomph over on this side of the battle so they could do a little better. But he's just going to see that he's got a big advantage here and try and push his advantage and get rid of these Orc Boar Boys as fast as he can. And really do his best to clean up that engagement, as these guys are still, these Orc Big Guns are still haven't got there. Now, my Forest Goblin Spider Riders, again, they're all pushed off to this side of the battlefield, and they're not really getting the good engagement. Like, really, all I got to do is push these guys out here, these guys out this way, and my engagement's going to be quite a bit better. And still, this Brave Shaman of Death is isolated. I should have maintained this with the Goblin Wolf Riders, because that was my original target. You can see you might be able to see I'm targeted on him right now, and that's the correct target. And I should have actually maintained that. Now with Wurzag, I could have gone in and got involved with this Gore Herd just to help clean up that fight a little bit and give them the 11% physical resistance. I wanted to do that, but I really couldn't I just couldn't time everything right because I was a little bit off put by what's going on here. But these Orc Big Guns are going to do okay against the Senegors. We know that they can beat them, and these guys have done all right. You can see I've got these Senegors with great weapons down to less than half, and they're starting to break. These Senegors great weapons, I mean, my Boar Boys are doing okay, but now they're getting attacked in the side. And, I could have, had I put all these three guys together and brought over one of my Forest Goblin Spider Riders, that engagement would have been a whole lot better for me. So I got these Orc Big Guns, they're ready, and I see that he's bringing in Morgor. He just wants to get on to Wurzag and get that fight going. And I think, does he have the Bonewood Staff, Power of the Wa? I can't see where he's put his Fate of Buna. So these guys are poisoned. They might have been getting hit, but they're going to win that fight. So he's going to put it on somewhere. But you can just see I've really lost control of this side of the engagement. I'm doing okay over here, but had I put these guys all together, that would have been much better. So here the Chaos Spawn comes, and this is exactly what these Orc Big Guns are for. I was ready for this. They're going to come in, take down that Chaos Spawn. They're going to do just fine, but he's going to get another Chaos Spawn sort of right in this area as well, which is actually going to be crushing. So these guys are routing off, and I wanted to sort of chase them off and make them go. But here come my Goblin Wolf Riders for a rear charge. I wanted to get them in there just to help, and you can see it does have an impact on those Senegors we're throwing at. So I'm not losing terribly here. I just don't quite have the leadership to keep that up. And now these guys are terribly isolated. It's a 2-on-1 plus the Brave Shaman of Death is right there. These Black Orcs, maybe they were the ones with the I don't know why they're poisoned. Oh, maybe it's from the Chaos Spawn? I'm not really sure. But he's done a good job with these Black Orcs, and they've been pushed off, and now he's pushed through with this Bestigor Horde. And really, for the rest of the battle, there's not a whole lot to go through. I mean, I lost control of this early, and he was able to really take advantage of that and just push the rest of the fight to his advantage, and take control with his better micro in the pocket and use his magic, and just a really, really good job, especially with those Bestigors. I was looking at that. I mean, those Bestigors, putting the 2 chevrons on there, really, really smart. And I think I could have done a lot better. So I'm just going to go to the the basic screen to look at my army build and think about ways that I could have built this army better. Alright, so just to, I guess, review my army picks, I think I'm happy with the Savage Orcs. I think the Orc Big Guns were decent. The Black Orcs were the right pick. Wurzag, I had a bit of a think on this, and his abilities, maybe Effigy to get. I still think that was probably a good choice not to take it. This Wurzag's Revenge, maybe that miscast was making it so I didn't see that Fate Abuna and Spirit Leech as often, but the spell loadout. So I was really focused on trying to get this Bonewood staff to proc, and I just think, I should have brought Here We Go and Fist of Gork, and I think that loadout just would have been better. That 44 melee attack would have procced with a plus 13 melee attack, and I really could have used that to make my line function more effectively. Now, in retrospect, these Goblin Wolf Riders were okay. I like the Death Creepers. I probably didn't need as much skirmish. I think the Death Creepers were good. I have played with the Mangy Marauders, and I know them to be good. Might have been a better choice to just use 2 skirmishers up front and really kind of load it out sort of like that. And the other thing is really what I noticed on that outside edge is a Goblin Big Boss really would have been useful just for that encouragement. So, I had to run with the Goblin Big Boss, and they do work really good. I think bringing a loadout with that Goblin Big Boss, 1 or 2 Orc Boar Boys, maybe I put them together and I can really make sure I take that home. And if I want to send someone after his backline, I can think about how to do that with, if I win that, thinking about the battle, really I wanted to win hard, win big wherever I was winning. That's why I think when I look at Wurzag, bringing Here We Go would have been really good. Now, Foot of Gork would have been amazing if I would have brought Wurzag out and put it on those 4 units of Centaurs, but I expected 2 units. I don't think that's worth it. It's 18. Really, though, Here We Go, definitely should have brought it. It would have made a real big difference on that infantry engagement. Now, how I build this, do this loadout and make it work, I'm not quite sure if this is, again, if this is kind of the perfect lineup. I was looking at other possibilities I could have thought about bringing, maybe instead of these Orc Boar Boys, I bring the Moon Howlers, because they're very fast and they cause fear. And then I put the Moon Howlers, the Orc Boar Boys, Big Guns, and the Goblin Big Boss together in that kind of strike group, and then I can actually use them for real serious rear charges, and then I have a little bit of gold left over. Hard to say exactly. In retrospect, it's hard to say, because if you play different, that doesn't mean your opponent's going to cooperate, right? Your opponent's going to change their plans as well. But looking at the build, if I could have fit an extra Black Orc in there, I think that would have also been pretty good. Maybe I could have gone with just a little bit of skirmish, put in, because I knew he could bring 4 Bestigors. Now, he chevroned up his Bestigor. That was a really, really smart move. But had I tried to really just match up, get 4 Black Orcs, you know, have just a little bit of skirmish, have a more solid outside group with this Goblin Big Boss, the Orc Boar Boys, and the Moon Howlers, and just let those Death Creepers be... Because I really didn't need extra units. Like, so the Orc Boar Boy, the Orc Big Guns, I was able to push one of them off, but it cost me a little bit because he got that extra Chaos Spawn. But I think the Death Creepers would have been enough to hold back Morgor or the Bray Shaman if something comes in the back. You know, I think this lineup would have been a little bit more functional, and you know, I could have really looked at my abilities. You know, maybe I almost have enough for Here We Go, or sorry, the Effigy of the Git, this Squiggly Beast. You know, I might be able to play with that lineup. You know, I like the Death Creepers, and you know, that Big Boss I think is important for that leadership, especially on the edges. And you know, really looking at just these, so when you look at the Centaurs with great weapons, you know, they're immune to psychology if their leadership is lower than 50, if their leadership is higher than 50%. But I think those, you know, looking back, these guys are really fast. They're kind of like just a better version of the Goblin Wolf Riders, especially for chasing units off at the very end. They've got really good stats. If you look at your Goblin Wolf Riders, they're, you know, they got +8 melee attack and melee defense and +10 leadership, which is no small thing. Let's see what happens if we chevron these guys all the way up. Yeah, these guys are just +3 melee attack and -1 melee defense, so they're still +2 stats, and they cause fear. So I think, yeah, that's not nothing. And these guys are expendable. These guys aren't. So really, something more like that could have been a little more effective. Now, I could have considered also, instead of the Death Creepers, I kind of liked, you know, instead of the Black Orcs like that, I could have actually considered the Rusty Errors, along with some, you know, maybe a couple units of Goblin Archers to put pressure on his Bestigor specifically. You know, something like that. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I think ultimately I had too much skirmish, and I didn't use them very well. One unit probably would have been enough to kind of just push the pace a little bit. Definitely should have included a Goblin Big Boss for leadership on that edge. You know, with the Orc Boar Boy, maybe put the Moon Howlers with him. You know, there's the problem is there's not. I mean, the thing is, these guys aren't large. So I mean, are these guys anti-large? Vanguard deployment? No, they're not. They're armor piercing though. I don't know. You know, like these Centaurs with throwing axes have a range of 70. You know, maybe I put the Mangy Marauders out there. They do have armor piercing missile damage, but they might have been being able to do against the Bestigor, do good against the Centaurs. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly, but I think I would have liked to change my lineup a little bit. And Wurzeg, I don't know. I could have used him better. I definitely messed up on his spell loadout. There's just no doubt about that. I had an idea in my mind. I had a plan. And I said this. I make a plan and I follow it, and then I try and think of a better plan. You know, I just think Azag would have been better. You know, putting him up there. And, you know, I don't need the charge bonus, improve recharge rate, yep, don't need the foe seeker. Take the Wah, that's every 90 seconds plus 44 melee attack. Just leave him with the Fate of Buna, you could put it on the Bestigors, and Spirit Leech, and, you know, the Scroll of Power. Do I need that? I don't know, but for 2119, he's going to be pretty solid. And I really do like him. I give myself a little bit of extra. I give myself a little bit of a different thing, because now I can take Azag, and he causes fear and terror, and I could have actually supported where I lost that engagement on the outside. You know, hard to say. Again, these are all difficult things to say precisely which would have been the very best. You know, just matching up infantry. I mean, him chevroning up his infantry was very clever and a good idea. You know, we could match up infantry, and then, you know, what do I put with these orc boar boys? You know, I don't know. There's just not enough gold to go around in the entire engagement. But if I have that, if I can use the Wa and rear charge with Azag, maybe I don't need 4 black orcs. You know, maybe I can go and take these moon howlers and put them in that group with the goblin big boss and the orc boar boys, and then once I win that engagement, can split off the orc boar boys with their armor piercing to go against the bestigors and the moon howlers to chase off units, because they do cause terror, right? Or they cause fear, so they can go and chase off units even better than the regular goblin wolf riders. Then I have enough gold for some skirmish, and I can get the death creepers and the mangy marauders, and you know, I still have even 300 extra gold. You know, maybe I can even play around with some of these other units, you know. And who knows, I've seen the Arachnarok spider used in that, and you know, hard to say exactly. I just feel like my build was really could have been better with Wurzag. You know, for sure I should have brought the Wa, and I still think I would have preferred Azag in the air just for the flexibility. Yeah, and if they still do summon a Manticore, you do need something to help shoot it out of the sky, so you do need some skirmish. Because you know, it's easy to forget what you were so worried about when you made a choice one way or the other. I was worried about that freaking Manticore, and you know, maybe Wurzag's miscast chance was really helping me in that battle. Not really sure, but this felt better when I used it. And you know, this big boss is his encouragement and the ability to potentially goon or help goon, because he's still pretty fast, but to goon or help goon that Bray Shaman, you know, after the fight might have been really useful, you know. And even with this group, you know, we could look at, you know, I even have enough gold. I could have brought just a regular group of goblin wolf riders for some skirmish, something like that. You know, 31 gold. 33, 600. I guess, well, probably only gonna get that, but you know, could have done something like that. Might have been, for sure would have been more effective against that build specifically. So I think my plan was reasonable. I didn't execute against those cavalry. I didn't react when he had 4 cav instead of 2. I didn't react properly. Had I pulled back and let my big guns engage at the same time, I could have done a little better on that side for sure. And for sure the spell loadout with Wurzag was just a mistake. You know, that spell, the Gaze of Mork is not very good. But the idea was I was going to keep proccing this Bonewood Staff, but it was really quite hard to do. I think these abilities with you bring, you know, here we go with that Bonewood Staff and Fist of Gork. Not Foot of Gork, but you put that together, and that's plus 44 melee attack plus 13 more melee attack. You know, my infantry, where I cast that, I could have cast it on the 2 black orcs that were and engaged them properly and put it on at least 2 units of black orcs. They would have had what, 36 and 44 is 80 plus 13, 93 melee attack. For how long are they going to have that? These are 38 seconds for that, and the Bonewood Staff is 18 seconds. 17 seconds. So it would have made a massive difference. I just think, you know, looking back, Wurzag, the spell loadout was wrong. Brain Bursta was just, the idea was interesting, just not correct. It was cheap. Could do that Bonewood Staff, but I just couldn't get it off enough. Gaze of Mork, same thing. You know, this Fist of Gork is truly good. And Here We Go is truly good. Like, those could have, just changing that loadout for Here We Go could have swung that battle. You know, I think the big guns were perfect. They did exactly what I wanted them to do, and they helped protect the back line. They got some kills in after. You know, they could go and support after the fight was done. He did a really good job on my Black Orcs, though. Like, you know, Black Iron is a good player, and he focused down these Black Orcs and did outstanding to just make them a non-issue. He focused 2 down specifically. 1 he couldn't get focused down, but 2 units he just did a great job on them. So, you know, at least it's definitely I've learned something from the battle, and I think I could play better next time. I definitely could bring a better build, and you know, I'd be interested to hear, especially if any one of you guys have played the Greenskins against the Beastmen, have come up against those types of builds. You know, what you think about the build, where you think the good picks are. You know, are the Moonhowlers decent in this? You know, what do you think about the Goblin Big Boss? What do you think about Wurzag versus Azag? I'd love to know someone who has good experience playing both of those lords, what you think about the difference between those 2 lords, and particularly in that battle. And you know, what you think about the Death Creepers and the Mangy Marauders. I don't think the Forest Goblin Spider Rider archers did enough. You know, the Death Creepers did okay, but the regular Spider Riders, they just didn't do enough. You know, like what is the comparison? Yeah, these guys are quite a bit better, but I just don't think these Forest Goblin Spider Riders archers did enough in that fight. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts specifically on the Goblin Big Boss, the Wurzag versus Azag, the skirmish specifically. What you think would have been a better build for my Cav line? You know, were 2 Orkbor Big Guns good? You know, they did okay. They just couldn't handle 4 units. Had I had a Goblin Big Boss, Boar Big Guns, and the Moonhowlers, would I have done better? Hard to say. Maybe I would be better off to, you know, to go with the 2 units of Orkbor Big Guns, because they do have that armor piercing, and rear charges on Bestigors would have been absolutely devastating with the armor piercing and the 50 charge bonus. Had I been able to win that, you know, because I could have, you know, I certainly could have kept these Orkbor Big Guns like that, but those 2 with the Goblin Big Boss, and just kept 2 of the skirmishers. You know, certainly could have put together a build like that without much of a problem. You know, and you know, hard to say. Again, all right, I don't have him on his pig, so you know, it's not quite, the cost isn't quite right. You know, yeah, boy, I just like Azag. You know, when I look at his abilities, is he cheaper than Wurzag? He needs the Wa. The Fate of Doom and Dark. Doom and Darkness might have actually been useful. Yeah, he's a little more expensive. So, and plus this Scroll of Power is actually really good, because you can use the wah, click this and use the wah again right away. You know, minus 90 ability recharge. Then you don't quite have the unit density to get, but you put something like that. Yeah, your spell loadout simple, and then you trade one of these guys for maybe a different unit. These guys are anti-infantry, but they're also armor piercing, you know. But I don't need armor piercing against those beastmen, right? They don't have armor. So maybe there would have been a different unit that would have been just better. Savage Orc Boarboy Big Guns, no. Savage Orc Boarboys, no, they're armor piercing as well. Is there a good unit of non-armor piercing cav? Yeah, these Moonhowlers. That's a good unit of non-armor piercing cav. Yeah, maybe these Moonhowlers would have been the right pick. They look like they could have been pretty good, actually. Yep. Because they're non-armor piercing, these guys don't have armor. Maybe those Moonhowlers actually could have been really good. Put the Moonhowlers, the Orc Boarboy Big Guns, and the Goblin Big Boss all together in a group. Could they have beat those 4 units? Sure don't know. But then having Azag the Slaughterer, you know, able to go around and help out with that battle, you know, I think could have made a difference. Yeah, I wouldn't really need Foe Seeker. But, you know, and I still have 300 left. You know, if I really wanted to, I could still pick up some Goblin Wolf Riders for that back line. You know, that's definitely a potential, right? If we look at that loadout, give them a chevron, they could have still been ready for backline support. I don't need as much defense against the Chaos Spawn for Azag. Still need the Mangy Marauders and the Deaf Creepers against the potential of the Manticore, and they could do a good job. Use that with Azag because I have this. I could use his ability Wah for 25 seconds, reset it right away, and use it again for 25 seconds. And you can keep using it over and over. You can use it 20 times at a battle if you want. I mean, if your battle's long enough. And then really you use the Fate of Buna on one of those Bestigor herds to help out. You can Spirit Leech the Bray Shaman if you want. Sick your Goblin Wolf Riders on them if you want. Bring those Goblin Wolf Riders in to help the main cavalry engagement. You know, these Deaf Creepers could actually be useful against the Centaurs for sure. And these Mangy Marauders with their armor piercing missile damage would have been really good against Bestigors. Yeah, actually I think I really quite like this lineup. Much better. Yeah. So, yeah, tell me what you think about this lineup compared to, and again, especially if you've had experience using the greenskins against the Beastmen, I'd love to hear your experience, or if you know of some battles online where you've seen really good builds or really interesting builds, I'd love to see them linked below as well. So that's it for the after action report. I definitely could have done better. I think the plan that I had, I was okay, but I didn't, not on the deployment side. I should have deployed a little bit differently, and I definitely made a giant mistake in how I loaded out Wurzag, for sure. You know, and just the basic bringing these Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers instead of the Mangy Marauders, you know, changing that loadout. You know, I wanted the anti-large with these Orc Boarboy Big Guns for that bonus, which is really quite nice, bonus versus large 12, but these Moonhowlers might have been able to do really, really good in that fight. So yeah, tell me what you thought, comments below, love to hear from you guys, hope you found it interesting, and you know, going into round 3, 1-1, You know, not too bad. I'm pretty happy with the tournament so far. Really been enjoying it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too, and look forward to the next fight. So that's that. Have yourself a good one.